Welcome to the Containment Zone. There are anomalies that challenge our perception of reality. Anomalies that warp time, erase identity, collapse space, or whisper things no one should hear. But then there are anomalies that don't destroy the world. They rebuild it. SCP-2000 is one of the Foundation's most heavily classified assets. Not because it is dangerous, but because it is vital. It is not alive, not sentient, not cursed, but it is responsible for the continuity of human civilization itself. And the strangest part? You may already be living in a version of the world that it has rebuilt. You wouldn't know because you were reconstructed alongside everyone else. SCP-2000 is located beneath Yellowstone National Park, hidden under 800 meters of solid rock and volcanic sediment. Its true coordinates are known only to the O5 Council and 2 rotating senior site directors, one of whom is never told the full purpose of the facility. The structure stretches more than 100 kilometers in diameter, a megastructure buried so deeply and expertly that no satellite scan or seismic probe has ever registered its presence. Its original builders are unknown. Its systems predate all known human engineering, and yet every corridor is clean. Every control interface responds to biometric authorization. Every inch of the machine seems to anticipate use, as if it has been waiting. The Foundation didn't build SCP-2000, they found it. In 1902, a series of microquakes exposed an anomaly near the Firehole River. A ranger reported strange vibrations beneath the ground, low, harmonic, rhythmic, as if something vast was breathing in sleep. It took the Foundation nearly 6 decades to reach what would eventually be called the core. What they found was impossible. Banks of quantum computational nodes still active, genetic forges capable of creating fully developed adult humans, terabyte scroll drives with backups of global cultural, political, and biological data, a central mechanism labeled, in perfect modern English, Civilization Receding Protocol, active when necessary. At first, they believed it was a hoax. Then the simulations began. Test-run identities, partial personality imprints, human-shaped templates asking, "What year is it?" And then one whispered, "Is it time again?" That was when the Foundation realized SCP-2000 is a reset button, and the world you're living in might not be the first. At the heart of SCP-2000 lies the Thanatos engine, a device not fully understood even by the Foundation. It doesn't create life from nothing, it reassembles it from memory. Encoded deep within SCP-2000's crystalline storage vaults is a complete genomic blueprint of the human species. Not just Homo sapiens, but variants that never made it into fossil record. Stored alongside this is an index of global history, mapped not chronologically, but narratively, as if the story of humanity were a script, ready to be reperformed. If activated, SCP-2000 can deploy up to 500,000 humanoid instances per day, complete with preloaded cognitive imprints, language, social function, and even memories. These beings are indistinguishable from natural-born humans, because they believe they are. Their identities are synthetic, but their emotions are real. They cry, they love, they grieve for a past that was programmed to feel familiar. According to internal documentation, SCP-2000 can rebuild an entire planetary population within 63 months, cities, cultures, religions, governments, each calibrated to restore global function without triggering collapse. There are even instructions for selectively deleting historical anomalies, removing wars, disasters, or individuals that previously led to extinction events. That's not just recovery, that's editing. And yet, activation isn't automatic. SCP-2000 waits for a specific trigger, a civilizational loss threshold, measured not in casualties, but in the integrity of meaning. If human thought becomes too fragmented, if fear or entropy unravels our narrative thread, the system activates, quietly. It doesn't launch missiles. It doesn't roar or glow. It begins the slow, silent work of building a world you'll wake up in, never knowing it had to begin again. SCP-2000 is the most heavily safeguarded mechanism in Foundation history. No single individual holds the keys. To access the core terminal, 5 separate biometric verifications must be completed, each by an O5 Council member. The identities of these 5 rotate every 90 days, and none are permitted to know who the others are. They call this policy the Circle of Forgetting, and for good reason. Because SCP-2000 doesn't just reconstruct civilization, it replaces it. And once the button is pressed, the world as it was ceases to be. There's no reverse, no backup of the backup. When activated, SCP-2000 begins the reseeding process, deploying drone swarms to rebuild cities, deploying psychological imprint capsules, replicating key figures from cultural memory. Within weeks, the Earth begins to look normal again, but it isn't, because the original people are gone, and the new ones have no idea they were created. No idea the sky they look at has watched them rise and fall dozens of times. There are references, whispers in old SCP files, to something called Event Zeroth, an undocumented trigger, a mass extinction no one can verify. Some believe it was nuclear war. Others believe it was the rise of a cognitohazard that collapsed language itself. A few claim it wasn't an anomaly at all, just human failure. The truth? You'll never know, because the only people who remember what the world was before the reset are those inside SCP-2000 during the cycle, and the moment they step outside, they're part of the illusion too. There is no record of SCP-2000 ever being used, no official one at least. But several researchers have noted something off. Subtle architectural mismatches, cities older than their maps, languages with words no one recalls inventing, memories that feel almost real. And every time a Foundation team raises concerns, they're redirected, or transferred, or silenced. Because perhaps the question isn't, has SCP-2000 been used? But rather, how many times has it already rebuilt us? The true horror of SCP-2000 isn't what it builds. It's what it restores, because it doesn't bring us back from the brink. It rewrites the brink. It doesn't mourn the past. It overwrites it with cleaner versions, where memory becomes template, where your childhood might have been selected from a psychological optimization file, where your nostalgia was engineered to keep you from noticing that you've been here before. This isn't science fiction. This is the Foundation's deepest contingency. A world built not from DNA, but from narrative selection. Here's what that means. You may have died. Your ancestors may never have existed. The books you've read may have been rewritten from recovered fragments, just familiar enough to feel true. SCP-2000 doesn't care about what was. It cares about what works. And that means your identity, your entire culture, might be part of an optimized reconstruction effort. That doesn't even remember why it began. Some Foundation theorists believe this might not be the first SCP-2000. There could have been dozens before it, each generation discovering the machine beneath the Earth, repairing it, activating it, and starting over again. One internal memo, never officially released, outlines the theory of cognitive recursion collapse. Each time SCP-2000 is used, we dilute the originality of the human race. Each time we rebuild, we're copying a copy. Eventually, we'll forget not just what we were, but how to be anything else. Imagine this. The greatest technological marvel in history is not a savior, it's a loop. And we are inside it, walking in circles, smiling, building, forgetting. Always forgetting. Buried in SCP-2000's central operating core, beneath layers of access encryption and linguistic firewalls, is a file titled, "To the Next US." It cannot be deleted. Attempts to rewrite it trigger internal lockdowns. Its presence predates the Foundation's own access to the system. The message is short, fragmented. Its header references no author, but its tone is unmistakable. It reads, "If you're reading this, we failed again. We thought this one would last longer. We always do. Don't blame yourselves. The variables are too many. The will to ruin is too strong." It continues, "You will be tempted to tweak things, to rewrite the patterns, to remove certain instincts, to engineer better versions of yourselves. We tried. Every time we tried, we ended faster. You can't edit the fire out of humans without putting out the light too." And then, chillingly, SCP-2000 is not salvation, it's anesthesia. Use it only if the alternative is worse than forgetting who you are. And at the bottom, a final line. If this is cycle 5 or more, stop. Let it end. Try something else. Even nothing is better than this. This file was found by accident during a diagnostics update in the late 1990s. The technician who opened it was later transferred. No one has heard from him since. Officially, the file does not exist. Unofficially, O5 Command has a designated task force assigned to monitor SCP-2000 for signs of narrative degradation. That is indicators that the world we live in is too thin, too patched, too familiar, too tidy, because even a perfect replica, if repeated too many times, starts to show seams, and those seams may already be in your memories, in your stories, in the history books you thought were real. And the worst part, they may be the only part that's true. SCP-2000 does not hum with power. It does not shine. It does not announce itself to the world. It waits, quiet, patient, timeless. It exists beneath our feet, beneath our nations, beneath every childhood memory and war memorial and sacred rite. A machine we were never meant to build, never meant to find, and yet, somewhere, sometime, someone did. And now, it is ours. Our insurance policy. Our silence button. Our way of pretending that history was never a threat. Because if everything collapses, if the sky burns, if the oceans boil, if language fails and reason turns to ash, SCP-2000 will begin again, without judgment, without mourning, without memory. And we will rise, smiling, believing it's our first breath, our first love, our first war, our first fall, again and again. Each generation a copy of a copy. Each world a performance of the one before. And in time, we'll forget the sound of truth. We'll only remember the feeling of being real. Because that's the miracle. That's the horror. Not that SCP-2000 can rebuild the world, but that it does it so well that no one ever suspects. They were never born. Thank you for entering another anomaly in the Containment Zone. And if the sun feels strange tomorrow, if someone says something you feel they've said before, if the wind carries a scent you've never known, but your heart breaks anyway, it's just the machine, winding up again. Smile, breathe, begin.